85% of your law firm's value isn't in your bank account or your client list. It's hidden in something far more elusive. Welcome to The Lawyer Millionaire, where we deliver financial planning insights for ambitious law firm owners so you can enjoy more time, more abundance, and less stress, even if you're still growing your practice. Are you so focused on the day-to-day grind that you're overlooking what really drives your firm's value? Most law firm owners spend all their time and energy chasing clients and revenue. But what if the real key to your firm's success lies in something you can't see on a balance sheet? Hey, law firm owners, welcome to part one of a 5-part series on growth strategy for law firms. Today, I'm really excited to talk to you about uncovering the hidden gold mine in your practice, the 4 C's of intangible capital, and how they can transform your firm's growth and profitability. First things first, what is intangible capital? Well, unlike the physical assets that you have, like office space, technology, even the cash flow in your bank account, intangible capital refers to those non-physical assets that contribute significantly to your firm's value. We're talking about things like the knowledge your team holds, systems you have in place, your client relationships, and your firm's reputation. Well, what's that got to do with growth, you're asking? Well, this idea, talking about the 4 C's, we've actually mentioned this before a little bit in our previous episodes on exit strategy, comes from the exit strategy world, but it just so happens that exit strategy is good business strategy, and I'm going to explain exactly what this has to do with growth in just a minute, so bear with me. Well, in more specific terms, let's break this down. So we have the 4 C's of intangible capital. What are those 4 C's, you may ask? Well, here they are. Number 1, human capital. Human capital is the collective skills, experience, and knowledge of your team. Secondly, we have structural capital. Structural capital simply means the systems, processes, and intellectual property that support your operations. Third, we have customer capital. That's easy enough. Your customers, right? The value derived from your client relationships, including loyalty and satisfaction. And lastly, we have social capital. Social capital is your reputation. It's also your network within the legal community and beyond. So those are the 4 C's of intangible capital. Well, why should you care, and what does it have to do with growth? Well, let me tell you. The answer is simple. Intangible capital simply is the key to unlocking your growth potential. In a competitive market, these intangible assets are what sets your firm apart. They are unique to you and can provide a sustainable competitive advantage. Not only that, the 4 C's are the key drivers of growth for any business, any organization. Let's think about this, right? Just walk through the examples here, right? Your ability to attract top talent, that would be part of your human capital. Your ability to keep clients coming back, that's your customer capital. Your ability to run your operations smoothly, that's your structural capital. Your ability to build a reputation as a thought leader, that's your social capital. These drive the growth of your firm. These are driven by how well you cultivate and leverage your intangible assets, and they're inextricably linked to your growth. When you focus on the 4 C's, you're not just increasing your firm's value, which you are, by the way, you're also ensuring the long-term sustainable growth and profitability of your practice. Let's take it further. I want you to imagine a couple of imaginary stories here, hypothetical stories. Okay, so let's imagine a small law practice. Let's say they're in the Midwest, right? Okay, and they have realized the importance of investing in human capital. Because of that, they have created a robust employee development program. They're offering their employees continuous training and professional growth opportunities. And because of that, their employees are really, really happy. That has spilled over into clients being happy, and client satisfaction is improved. You can only imagine if you have higher employee retention and greater client satisfaction that there's going to be a major increase in revenue, right? Yes. Let's think of a negative example, right? Again, hypothetical. But let's imagine a law firm that has failed to invest in, let's say, structural capital. They are stuck with outdated processes and technology. And as a result, right, they're still doing things in Excel or on a legal pad. um, and as a result, their competitors are much more efficient and they are not keeping up. Key clients start leaving. The firm's struggling to grow. They're focused so much on the short-term gains, they've overlooked the long-term value of their intangible assets. So those are just like, two hypotheticals, but think about that. That just illustrates the profound impact that intangible capital can have, both the potential for incredible growth, but also the risk of missed opportunities if you neglect these critical areas. Okay, let's dive into these specifics. So let's break it down a little bit further. Human capital, let's start there. Human capital is all about the collective skills, experience, and knowledge of your team. We've said that. Your people, your employees are one of your most valuable assets. It's just a fact, right? Think, the word company, right? The word corporate, it all derives from, Greek or Latin words. I think it's either the Greek or the Latin corpus. If you went to law school, probably know more than I do. But it all comes from the same words that mean people. Your company is the people, your people. They make up your organization. Without them, well, you really don't have much, right? Their expertise, their experience, right? People who have been with you a long time, they know your people. They know your customers. They know how you do things. Their skill sets, their morale is critical to your success. How well they are aligned with your firm's goals will directly influence your firm's performance. So how do you go about strengthening your human capital? Well, you have to invest. You need to invest in strengthening that human capital to some degree. One thing you could do is offer ongoing education and professional development to help your employees stay sharp with their skills. A big part of strong human capital is just having a group of people that's motivated and excited. And a lot of that, comes back to having a really strong, compelling vision, something I think we talked about in last week's episode, right? How that vision is so critical. You can also focus on employee engagement. How well engaged, and that all comes down again to your vision, right? But also having a positive work culture where your team feels valued. How valued do your team members feel? How motivated are they? And don't forget about leadership development. You need to identify and nurture potential leaders within your firm to ensure a pipeline of future firm leaders. They are not a threat to you. Are you motivating? Are you mentoring people in your organization? That's the only way your firm is going to thrive and survive well beyond you. Human capital. Okay, next, structural capital. So structural capital, as we've mentioned, is all about your processes, your workflows, your systems. Every single thing that you do that is a repetitive task should have a system, should have a workflow. You're probably no stranger to this idea. But all of those things add up to the way that you do business, right? So, having workflows, we're no stranger to that concept. But structural capital goes even further. Structural capital goes to the way you do business, right? Every company has a way that they do business that is different from other companies. And that is your intellectual property. That is the thing that sets you apart, the way that you do things. So think about that. Think about how you can document that, how you can strengthen that, how you can really more strongly differentiate that, because that is structural capital. And the more you effectively set yourself apart from your competition, the more you strengthen that structural capital, obviously that is going to lead to greater revenue and greater profitability. Structural capital also goes to efficiency. Obviously, efficient structures allow your firm to deliver consistency, high quality service to clients, and that's going to enable you to scale effectively. You're not going to be able to scale if you're continuing to reinvent the wheel every time a case comes along. So everything needs to be documented, needs to be efficiently thought through and aligned. How can you enhance your structural capital? Well, technology obviously is one way that you can improve things. Use technology wherever you can to automate routine tasks and improve productivity. Everything that you're doing that's routine should either be automated by technology or delegated to somebody else. Both of those are forms of delegation, by the way, right? You're going to delegate it to a human being or to technology, right? Get those things off your plate. Your task as the law firm owner is to rise higher to higher levels of thinking, right? So you should be focused on those more complex tasks and then allow your team to do the things that are repetitive. You should also be regularly reviewing and streamlining those processes so that you can keep them up to date. Things are always changing, right? New technologies are always coming along. So somebody on your team, delegate them to go and review your processes and think about how you can improve those. And finally, make sure that you protect your intellectual property. That's really critical. You may not think that you have intellectual property, but you really do. Everything that you do, the way you do it, if you've created a system for something, that's intellectual property. Make sure that you protect it. Okay, so we talked about human capital and structural capital. Let's talk about customer capital. Yes, customer capital. Customer capital is the clients, obviously, but it's more than that. It's the value and the strength of those client relationships. Strong customer capital. What's the difference between strong customer capital and weak customer capital? Well, just think about it. What would a strong client relationship look like? What if you had strong client relationships with all your clients? They're raving fans. You need to have raving fans. Raving fans, if you had strong customer capital, that would mean you have repeat business. You have positive word of mouth referrals. You have a steady flow of new clients. Boy, that sounds a lot like growth, doesn't it? I thought we were talking about intangible capital. Well, yeah, so here's a great example of how developing a stronger intangible capital leads directly to greater growth. So how do you strengthen that customer capital? Start by putting yourself in your client's shoes. Everything that you do should come from a client-centered approach. How do they feel when they're working with you? How do they feel when they first find you to all the way through when the task or the matter is completed? And think about how you can more personalize your service strategies to address specific needs and preferences that clients have. Now, I know I just talked about structural capital and efficiency. Wait a minute. You want me to personalize everything? Whoa. Well, let me back up. What I'm talking about, how you can personalize things, you can make clients feel that things are personalized by segmenting. Segment your client lists into groups, right? If you are a bankruptcy attorney handling bankruptcy matters, not all bankruptcies are the same. Not all people filing bankruptcy are the same. There are low-income bankruptcies and there are high-income bankruptcies. There's a variety there. So how could you maybe segment into different groups, and that way when clients come to you, they feel like, wow, I'm really getting a very personalized approach. All you've done is segment your client list into subgroups, basically. Other ideas for strengthening your customer capital, feedback mechanisms. Are you collecting feedback from your clients? Are you understanding how they're feeling And then are you making changes based on that feedback? Have a system for regularly collecting feedback at the beginning, at the middle, and at the end of an engagement. Also, referral programs. How could you have a referral program that would incentivize satisfied clients to refer new business to you, to provide referrals, right? Or to provide reviews, provide positive reviews. All of that is going to be very, very critical, right? So that is just like all of that leads so directly to new business. It's like a no-brainer. But when you do that, it's like a positive feedback mechanism. The more you strengthen your customer capital, the more clients are satisfied, the more clients you're going to have, right? It's just constantly building on itself. All right, lastly, we have social capital, my favorite. Your social capital is your reputation. It's your reputation in the community, in the world, online, and it's the hardest to do because it's not something that you can change overnight. It's something that takes years and years of investment and very conscious effort to build and maintain. A reputation is easily built. I'm sorry, difficult to build and easy to ruin. I think there's a proverb about that. It's also the network that you have, your strategic partnerships, your referral relationships, and how the firm is set up within the legal community and beyond, right? That is your social capital. And it's no mystery that a strong network and a positive reputation will lead to growth. It's going to mean new opportunities, new partnerships. People are going to want to do business with you. So how can you strengthen your social capital? Here's some ideas. Make sure that you're actively participating in the legal community, in the business community. We're living in this post-COVID, more virtual world. It's critical that you stay connected, and it's hard to do. So make sure you're doing that both online and in person, by the way. You could also, do things in the community, like community service, social responsibility initiatives, things that are going to build goodwill, in the community that you're working in. And another final thought is to think about how you can become more of a thought leader. That's a very, very critical way, not just to build your social capital, but also to grow your business, to set yourself apart, which is going to lead to new business and lead to growth, by the way. Contribute to industry publications, speak at conferences, lead webinars, find all the different ways that you can share your expertise. And let me just kind of give you an example of this in the financial world, okay? Because I see financial advisors in the financial world who are, speakers, but they're not speaking to their potential clients. They're speaking within the financial advisor community. There is a financial advisor community. There's the Financial Planning Association, of which I'm a member. And I was always like, what would it really benefit me, to be known as a thought leader within the financial planning community? Well, guess what? It spills over to your clients. Because if I'm a thought leader in the financial planning community and I can showcase that, the potential clients can see, oh, wow, this person is really a mover and shaker. He must really know what he's talking about. He's well respected in the financial world. So I really want to work with this person, or I really want to work with this firm. So that really has a very strong connection there. Now, you can take this a step further and to think about this. We have the 4 C's, right? They are not all just individual components. The 4 C's actually all interact and support each other in very powerful ways. And I think we've already kind of illustrated that a little bit. I mean, here's some examples. Strong human capital leads to better client relationships, which then boosts your customer capital. Okay, so how about your structural capital? Efficient processes from your structural capital can improve your firm's reputation and thereby enhance your social capital. So all of these things are just so very, very interconnected. So make sure that you are focusing on all of them together at the same time. And where could you go with this? How could you get started with this? How can you right now today Start unlocking the value of your firm's intangible capital, and not just unlocking that, but then going beyond that, unlocking explosive growth for your firm. Here's some things you can do. Number one, start by conducting an audit of your firm's current strengths and weaknesses in each of the 4 C's that we outlined, and get your team involved. Ask for their feedback. This doesn't have to be a formal evaluation, right? Send out a survey, right? And collect some feedback, get a picture of where you are today. Then prioritize your improvements. Identify the areas, which of those 4 C's is maybe your weakest area, and focus there first. Focus on making some changes. For example, if your structural capital is lacking, start thinking about how you can streamline your processes, adopt some new technology. Look for the quick wins, right? This stuff takes years to get right and to improve over time. None of this is going to happen overnight. So look for some quick wins that can get you going and give you motivation to continue the improvement process and keep you on target for your long-term goals. But start with that audit. Start today, get your leadership team together and talk about this and talk about how strong are we in each of these 4 areas. Remember, the key is to approach this systematically. It's not about fixing everything overnight, but rather making steady, incremental improvements that will have a lasting impact on your firm's value and long-term growth. So your challenge today is to start thinking beyond the traditional metrics of success, like revenue and client count. Start taking a look at your firm's intangible assets. Focusing on these isn't just about growth. It is, but it's also about building a firm that is sustainable, resilient, and is going to set you up as a law firm owner for long-term wealth creation. And by the way, that is what we are all about here at The Lawyer Millionaire. We recognize that building a strong business is paramount and central to your financial planning. That's why business growth planning is a big part of our financial planning processes and one of our 3 core service areas. If you would like personalized advice on how you can strengthen the 4 C's of your intangible capital and grow your business, schedule time with me directly. You will find the link below. This has been the Lawyer Millionaire Podcast. I'm your host, Darren Wurz, here to help you expand your business, maximize your profits, and grow your wealth. Thank you so much for listening. Come back and join me next time.